Classic question, but I'm curious. Story 1. I hope no one who's married or has children says their mom first. I love my mom, but even she would be mad if I picked her over her grandchild or daughter-in-law. Story 2. Relationship, wife. It's like the oxygen mask on the airplane. Your marriage has to be strong for your children to have a chance. Safety, child. That's your primary duty as a parent. Story 3. Back when I was in the Navy, there was a standard briefing we would get from the Fleet and Family Readiness Center before we returned to home port after a deployment. You've been gone for 6 to 9 months, and they try to prepare you mentally and emotionally for the changes that took place while you were gone, and try to help people reintegrate back into family life after a prolonged absence. One of the points they stress is when you get off the ship and meet your family on the pier, go to your spouse first. Share the big embrace and the kiss, and tell them how much you miss them first. Your kids are related to you by blood, but your spouse is the one you chose. Remind them that you still choose them. Good advice to live by for priorities in life as well. Spouse, kids, then mom. Story 4. At the moment, my kids. When they are older and can look after themselves, then it will be my wife, but it would be close. My mom died a couple of years ago, but as much as I loved her, she would have been third behind the kids and wife. Story 5. I thought this was on Reddit dad jokes and wanted to say, none of them comes before grandpa does, but the for real answer would 100% be wife. Wife all day and night if you're doing it right. Story 6. The fact that people think this is a legitimate question boggles my mind. Wife or spouse first without a successful partnership. There is no marriage. Happy kids and an unhappy spouse are a good way to create a split home. Kids, it is your job to raise and nurture your offspring, hopefully raising them to become good human beings. They are two parts that become one for you and your spouse. Mom or parents, once you are married, you become one with your partner, one unit and one family. You leave your parents behind. You can still love them, but they should have absolutely zero say in anything related to your immediate household. Story 7. 1. Wife. I chose to spend the rest of my life with her, and without her, the child wouldn't even exist. 2. Child. As long as I'm not a single parent, the child comes after my wife since they wouldn't even exist if I didn't love my wife first. Having a loving, healthy marriage first results in being a better parent for your child. 3. Mom. It doesn't mean I don't love her, but she had her time as the number one in my life, and I'm at the point where I'm making my own family. It's natural and healthy for parents to not be the number one priority in their adult child's life. Story 8. Wife, child, mother on a case-by-case basis. There are obviously cases where a child comes before the mother, but she is my top priority since both of us are there to care for the child. It is a case of making sure your oxygen mask is on, then putting it on your child. Story 9. Not a parent but wife first, probably child second. Love my mom, but I think she would want me to save my generation over herself. She has made comments about this before. Another way to frame it that I've seen is that it's my dad's job to take care of my mom, and my job to take care of my family. Story 10. When my first child was born, it was an emergency delivery for our baby, and they had to rush him out. My wife was safe, but it was traumatic for my son. He's fine, everyone is fine, but it was an experience. When my second child was born, it was an emergency for my wife. She hemorrhaged an hour after delivery with no warning and almost bled out. I can tell you firsthand that the idea of losing my wife compared to losing my child was significantly more traumatizing looking at them in retrospect with personal close calls with both. Story 11. As someone with none of the above, a wife, child, or mom, I don't particularly want kids in the first place. But if I had to choose, I'm choosing the only person in the group I handpicked. I can have more children, and my mom would understand. Story 12. This is such a complex question. I believe that a strong partnership between spouses is really important for a healthy family dynamic. When the relationship between the husband and wife is solid, it creates a strong foundation for raising children. So while I think it is crucial to prioritize both the spouse and the child, finding that balance is key. Communication and mutual respect among all family members can make a big difference. Story 13. Spouse is the first member of the new family you're creating. The foundation on the other side of the house you're building. It's your partner in life, the person who will walk with you right by your side for the rest of each other's lives. Once children grow and leave the house to form their own families, who's left? Your spouse. Child, yes, love them unconditionally, but learn to separate the love for your child and the love for your spouse. Because your child will grow with the example of love you and your spouse will show them. Parents, they're your secondary family now. Yes, love them, but not above your own family. Do not allow the family you come from to destroy the family you're building. If you're the type of person that doesn't have critical thinking and is going to say that this doesn't apply to every family, to every spouse, to every child, yes, we all know that, but that is the exception, not the rule. We all know there are bad parents, spouses, and children. Story 14. Wife greater than kids greater than rest. I know some people argue for children first, but I cannot help myself here. My wife is the most important person for me. Mom is an afterthought in any case. Story 15. If you pick your wife before your daughter in a life-threatening situation, you're going to lose both. I don't know of any mother that wouldn't divorce you if you let their children die to save them. Story 16. Wife first because there would be no kids without her. Children second because they are a part of both of us, and third, mother because she's still an important role, but my little family takes priority over everything else. Story 17. Wife first, then children, then parents. If you actively choose every day to put your spouse first, it creates a happier marriage, which in turn your kids will see, and they'll be happier. In the end, that benefits them way more than putting them first. I wish more people realized this. Lots of marriages end in divorce because of some reiteration of she or he started paying more attention to our kids than me. It doesn't mean neglect your kids, obviously, but within reason, your spouse should be the most important relationship you have. Story 18. Wife. Child. Mother. You left your parents to marry a woman, and with that woman you created a child. You don't have a bigger family, you have a new one. Anything opposite of this is not respecting the union, and that's toxic parenting. Yes, you should care for all three and be willing to devote time to all of them, but you have responsibilities. This involves making sure the one you chose and the one you helped create are cared for first. Story 19. Wife and child in a healthy relationship, you should both be on the same page as far as prioritizing your child goes. Mom, look, you're married now, and that's your immediate family. She probably prioritized you over her parents and in-laws, and it's part of life that you do the same. Story 20. My wife and I both agree that if it's a matter of rescuing from imminent death, the kids come first. The rationale is that we've had a good shot at life, lived to adulthood, accomplished many things, experienced many things, and enjoyed many things. The kids deserve a chance to grow up and do the same. I haven't asked my mom, but I know her pretty well, and I think she'd feel the same. Save the grandchildren first. Story 21. There's a point in life where your parents know they take the back seat in your life. At first, it's with your wife, and when you have kids, it's your children, then your wife, then them. It's just how it is. Story 22. Depends on context, as emergency takes priorities and a child can need extra attention. But it should be this one. Wife. One who is supposed to stay with you till the day you die. Children. You made them, you better raise them, but one day they will leave you. Hence why they can't be over your wife in priority overall. Mom. You probably owe her a lot and will help when she needs. Don't forget her, but you made your own family with the two above and they need you more. Story 23. First comes the wife. You fell in love, committed to a relationship with that person, and eventually made a vow to love and cherish that person. Out of the three people, she is the only one that you have made such a promise to. Second comes the child. This life has only come into existence because of you. It is completely dependent on you and relies on you. While it is often thought that the child must always take priority, the fact is that the child is only a result of the relationship between you and your wife, which is why they take second place. That being said, that cannot be used as an excuse to ignore, neglect, or even abandon the child due to needing to maintain your marital relationship. You both are responsible for that life, so you both are responsible for finding a balance. Lastly comes the mother. While she was there before the other two, she falls to the wayside in comparison. She was your old family, your caretaker, and a teacher. However, you have a new family, a child of your own, and you are responsible for teaching, supporting, and guiding the lives that you are responsible for and committing your life to. Being a parent is often referred to as a thankless job, and part of that is getting left behind by this new dynamic. The mother is the only one in the trio that did not receive a promise or is not a result of your love or actions. That does not change the fact that the mother should be an honored and respected role. She deserves both of those and should be treated as such. Regardless, when it comes to an order of importance to the man, she must take a back seat in order to make way for a new family and new generations. Story 24. This has always been the dumbest question on earth. Your marriage partner is literally supposed to be your other half. Marriage is supposed to be a combining of two souls, partner, child, and in an insanely distant third, parents. I say this with as much seriousness as I can. If you don't agree with that, then you'll never have a balanced life. I feel like people have forgotten that your wife should be the most important person in your life. Story 25. It's always going to be wife, child, mom. I had to explain this to the wife actually because she thought it was child, spouse, parent. The child eventually leaves the nest. Parents are typically not in it. Take care of the one who you are going to be with. With that being said, especially in younger years, the child needs more attention. You still put the spouse first. Here's the catch. Putting the spouse first can mean putting the child first. If there's an instance where my wife has to choose between something that's going to benefit my child versus me, choose me. However, by choosing me, she knows that what actually benefits me is doing what benefits the child. You put the spouse first. It just happens that if you have a good spouse, then you still will be putting the child first. Story 26. Child, wife, mom. That's just the basics. Once the child becomes an adult and has their own life, then they switch places with your wife. Also, if any of them unjustly try to force you to pick between them, then that person gets moved to last place. Story 27. Child first. All other relationships are negotiable. My love for my kids is unconditional. My love for my partner and my mother is conditional. To explain, I'm with my partner because we fell in love, because we've got similar interests and values and we're attracted to each other. Then we found we love being together enough to move in together, then have kids together. If there were a big change in how she approaches our relationship, for example, cheating or some other big change, then I'd obviously be concerned and might choose to end it. While we're on the same page and working together, I'm 100% committed and will work hard to make the relationship work. I've been burned in previous relationships because I believe you should make it work no matter what. This is unrealistic and unhealthy. My kids didn't choose to come into the world. That choice was made for them by myself and my partner. They can't survive without adult support. So, they're my and my partner's responsibility, and my love and support for them is unconditional. When they're old enough to fend for themselves, the support will become conditional, but the love will not. Story 28. My child always came first. His mother was a liar, cheater, and thief whom I divorced. She proceeded to ruin my career and constantly tried to ruin my friendship with my son. My mother helped protect my rights as a parent by providing a stable environment that Child Protective Services couldn't find any fault in after his mother lied to them multiple times. Now my child is an adult and my mother is in her early 70s. She is the primary caregiver for my father who has dementia, so she gets prioritized now. I do all the outdoor tasks and much of the cooking. I'll run errands if she needs, like going to the hardware store or providing technical support for her electronics. I never had a wife who loved me. She just wanted someone to finance her life while she did whatever she wanted. Ideally, it would be child, spouse, then mother, but that's not how the world worked out for me and many others. Story 29. Depends on the age of the child. But generally speaking, child, then partner, then parent. Once the kid is older, it's partner, then child, then parent. Your child might move on from you one day, and so will you from your parents. While the little one is still small and not yet grown, you have to take care of them as the highest priority. Your partner, unless either of you has serious issues, will be with you for the rest of your life in a perfect situation. Once the child goes on to live their own life, you can focus back on yours, which you will mostly spend with your partner. Hence, they become the priority again. Story 30, wife first, then child. Being a better husband makes me a better father, in my opinion. I don't think the inverse of this is true. I love my mom almost more than anybody, but she is a comfortable third place. Story 31, 1. Child, while they are an actual child at least, I don't know if the daughter or son being an adult would change the equation. 2. Wife. 3. Mother. I would add the caveat that things can change if there is a disagreement between them and someone is clearly in the wrong or blowing things out of proportion. Also, none of these rankings should alienate or belittle the others. Focusing on your child and wife doesn't mean that mom falls into obscurity. Assuming no abuse, all of these people should be close, cherished relationships.